y'all, today we're going to be building a knife kit that has been in the pockets of generations of young men and women. It's the 2-blade Lineman Trapper. This is going to require a little bit of skill on your part, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun taking that next step in your knife making journey and picking up just a little bit more challenge. So grab your kit and join along with us as we build the Lineman Trapper with Bubinga scales.
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take everything out of the box. I want to make sure, of course, that we have all of the parts. As you can see, there are a number of parts here, since this is a 2-blade kit. So when you pull it out, you just want to make sure you got both your blades. You have your outer liners with the bolster attached at each end, also the middle liner, and then 2 lock bars. All right, so once we've got everything out here and organized, the next thing that we're going to do is we're just going to take our liners and we're going to kind of do some rough smoothing out, if you will. Remember, these liners, this is a rough kit. It is designed to take a little bit more work from you to finish than just a basic screw together. So what we're doing is we're making sure that we have nice smooth edges on our bolsters. And when I say smooth, I don't mean a mirror polish. You want them a little bit rough so that the epoxy can stick to it. But you want to make sure that you don't have any burrs sticking out, anything like that. And of course, we're going to do this on both sides, both ends of both sides. Now, when you do this, don't take too much off, because the pre-machined handle scales are designed to fit in there rather snugly. And if you take off too much meat from the bolsters, then the handle scales are not going to fit snugly. Now we're just going to rough fit up our handle scale. When you do this, make sure too that you know which side of the handle scale you want to face out. You may have one side that you like the look of the wood grain better, and that's going to be important for when we drill it. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to clamp it down to another block of wood here. We're going to go ahead and drill our holes in our handle scales. Now, as you can see, we did drop one piece of penstock in the first hole. That's to help give us a little bit more steadiness on that. Then once we've done this for both sides, all 3 of our holes, then we are going to go ahead and epoxy our handle scales and put them on. Again, very important, make sure you put the epoxy on the correct side of the handle scale. So I would leave it on like we did here until you're ready to epoxy it. That way you don't lay it down and accidentally epoxy the wrong side. And then just a little bit of epoxy on the end of the bolsters. And the only reason we're putting it there instead of on the end of the wood, you can put it on the end of the wood as well. We're just doing it to keep our fingers a little bit cleaner. But if you wanted to put it on the end of the handle scale and hold the handle scales by the side, you can do that too. This is a fairly quick set epoxy. It's DEFCON 2-ton epoxy. When you use it, just be aware that you don't have a super long time. It's not going to set up in 3 minutes or anything, but you want to make sure that you get it adjusted the way that it needs to be. You don't want to put it on, walk away for 20-30 minutes, and then come back and decide, oh, I don't have my handle scale in the right place, because that will not work out too well for you. And don't worry about it if you get a little epoxy in different places. You're going to clean all that off when you sand it down anyway. So these 2 pins in the end are going to be what holds the actual handle scale on. The top one is going to run all the way through, so you're not going to put the pin in there and pin it yet. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to clamp down our handle scale with the pins in it. And just make it snug. You don't have to do super tight. You just want it snug and kind of even pressure from one end to the other. And we're just going to repeat this with the other side. All right, we're going to pin our penstock. So what this is going to do is expand that pin into the liner as well as into the handle scale. Now what we want to make sure and do when we do this, we want to pin it down so that it expands. We also want to make sure that we get it nice and smooth on the inside of the liner, because what you don't want is to have it sticking out and then let it catch one of the blades on the way down. So you can see that we've mushroomed it pretty well, and then what we're going to do there is we're just going to lightly smooth it out to get it down so that it's nice and even. So as you can see, we're doing this by hand. I do not recommend that you use a grinder for this part, or you'll take a little bit too much off of it. All I've done here is just take a little sanding pad and we're just doing a little bit more smoothing out.
Hey folks, just wanted to take a minute to say if you like what you're seeing here and you're interested in building the knife kits, be sure and sign up for our newsletter right here. You know what the newsletter is going to give you? It's going to give you first information before anybody else gets it of every new product that comes out, and newsletter only exclusive sales and specials. You are not going to want to miss this. Again, click the link right here and it'll take you right to sign up for the newsletter for knife kits.
All right, so now we got both sides ready to go here. So as you can see here, what we're doing, we're putting in our first lock bar with a pin and our first blade with a pin. You don't want the pins to be loose, but you do want to make sure that they slide through smoothly. So if you need to just use a little bit of fine sandpaper, emery cloth, something like that, just to take a little bit off, you can. But again, not too much, because you don't want them to be able to move around in there. And what we're also checking for here, we're holding that end where the pivot pin is with our finger to make sure that when the lock bar is tight, the blade's not actually touching the lock bar. If it is, then you could take just a little bit off the lock bar if you need to. Another trick that you can use for this part, if you're not one of the most dexterous people in holding the little pins with your fingers, you can always just hold them with a pair of needle nose pliers and push them in there. Just don't squeeze too tight because it is a slightly softer metal and you don't want to run the risk of deforming the pin. All right, next we're going to put our middle liner on there, our divider between the blades. And this is where it's important to just be patient. Don't force anything on. Again, if the end of your penstock's a little bit rough and you need to take just a little bit off so everything slides together, or perhaps you need to take a little bit of rough metal off around the edge of the hole, you can. Just remember, not too much. This part, as I say, just takes a little patience to get everything to slide together smoothly. Next, our second lock bar and our second blade. Work the other side on. And you might ask at this point, which side should each blade go on? And guess what? It's your knife. You can do whichever side you want, because this kit will allow you to get your thumbnail into each blade regardless of which side you've got it on. So it's just whichever you think looks better. Now we're just making a little adjustment here on the pivot pin end to give us a little bit of room to get our spacers in here. So again, what these spacers do is they give you just enough space so that when you peen this pin, because remember the pin has to expand in order to hold the knife together. But if the pivot pin expands completely into the bolsters and the liner and blade, then of course you can't rotate the blade at all. So what the spacer does is it gives us a little bit of room so that as we expand that pin, it doesn't squeeze everything together so tight that you can't move the blades. And what we've done here is we've just cut up that piece into strips, so we've got one piece of spacer on each side of each blade. So what you've got is liner, spacer, blade, spacer, liner, spacer, blade, spacer, liner. Say that 3 times fast. And you can just hold it together and kind of get an idea here for how you feel like the blades are opening. now we're just going to go ahead and peen this. So do not pound this pin. These again are soft metal. They're designed for you to be able to do this. So if you smack this pin hard, you're not going to be able to open your knife. And then we have to peen that middle lock bar pin as well as the back lock bar pin. Also here you have to be careful, because not only do you have to make sure that you don't destroy the pin, but if you hit too hard, you're going to damage your handle skills. So it's okay if you put a little dimple in them, because again, we are going to grind these down, but if you hit them too hard and either crack them or anything like that, it's going to be a problem. All right, so now that we've got our knife together, we're going to tape the blades. So we can do this with the blade open. It gives us a little bit more to hang on to. So tape the blade so that it doesn't cut you. And then we're going to go right to our sander grinder here, and we are going to start sanding down our handles, starting with a fairly rough and working our way to a finer sanding bell. And you'll just keep working until you get it exactly the way that you want it. Remember, go slow. You can always take a little more off, but you can never put any back on. When we're doing this, we're sanding the bolsters, we're sanding the lock bars and everything so that we get a nice, smooth, even look. Last, we're going to polish. As always, make sure and hold your knife with both hands. That polisher will grab it and yank it right out of your hands.
Well, the only thing you got left to do now is drop that Lineman Trapper in your pocket and carry it around. Oh, and maybe show it off to your friends too, right? You did put a lot of work into it. If you enjoyed this video, please take the time to click like and also subscribe to the channel so you can be notified of any more DIY videos that we've got coming along, as they'll be coming out every week. Also, if you didn't get to build this along with us, just click the link right here and it will take you directly to the Lineman Trapper on our website. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you again soon.